I had to sprint for that one. I'm still not.
Good morning, Lockpod.
Look at who we have in the studio today for Season 9, Episode 6.
Action John.
Good morning, Lockpod.
Indiana's most dangerous podcast.
We're in the...
I got to watch my
You've
language.
been waiting to say that, haven't you?
Turn down your sound, Kevin.
Sorry.
That's truthfully what I believe.
He likes blasting.
Thank you,
Oh
Linz.
my
It's what I
gosh.
believe. It's not what I'm supposed to say. It's what I think.
It's what we have John Cantrell in the house, and
Is that a
we're in the
disclaimer?
Foreit zone.
That's an early disclaimer.
It's an early. Well, with you here, it is truly the most dangerous podcast.
we don't know where
Maybe
we're
the
going.
Midwest. Maybe the Midwest.
I've missed you guys. I don't know anything about that.
You did?
Yes, I did, of course.
You know, everybody misses the good doc.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back. Where you been?
San Francisco.
How's that been?
Oh, San Fran was a little chilly, but I was in what they call the Tenderloin.
So wait, we haven't seen you since you've been on Skype from Hanoi.
That was nice. It was nice. I was Skyping you guys.
John, how was the...
John
John, how'd
that
you
up.
like the Skyping from Hanoi?
I've never had a better connection here in the studio.
Yeah.
I went to a spot that had the best Wi-Fi available.
We should also...
middle
It was
of an
the
open
middle
field.
Of the plaza.
Yeah.
There's the notorious LMP in the house with her Rihanna pants on.
I'm wearing Fenty Beauty pants.
John and I were like, what?
Fenty?
John and I didn't even know what that was.
Scented?
I'm going to Google
Scented?
that. Is that with an I?
No,
Scented
it's
Beauty?
F-E-N-T-Y.
It's F-U.
I think that's very dangerous to say because it sounds a lot like P-A-N-T-Y.
Let's see what we got here. All right, here's some.
Those are
Well,
my
that's
pants.
their, that's
What's
her
wrong with
makeup
panties?
line.
Nothing.
Oh, that's
a
the
lot of
main
people
one.
don't like. A lot of people don't like that word, specifically women.
I
What do
think
they
it's
prefer?
fine.
What is it? Foundationals?
Yeah, skivvies,
Just do Fenty.
Spanx?
Spanx,
Well, foundational used to be the
clothes?
word. You know?
nothing.
Fenty.
Bra and panties were foundational garments.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
she's got a makeup line, she's got a lingerie line, and she has an athleisure line, and I'm wearing the
Whoa,
athleisure.
whoa, we
you're
got a-
putting
Excuse
weight.
me?
Oh
What
my
the-
Excuse me?
Is
goodness
that
sakes.
Fenty?
See, this
Athleisure.
That's her lingerie line.
you need to have these conversations when Tom's not here with Lindsay.
Right.
Yes. Yes. That's appropriate.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Athleisure.
So
gotta
anyway,
go to our
just to be
athleisure
clear,
section.
I was referring to Lindsay's actual outer garment.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, my camera's not up, but I promise there are actual pants.
Okay,
That's
here
good.
we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I think I can show this.
Do we have Lindsay Cam?
Sorry, I showed the lingerie
No,
section for a
Lindsay
split
Cam is
second.
turned off today. So.
John, Lindsay Cam is now operational?
What do you mean? It's right here, but I have the. All right.
Oh, the camera's not on.
There
I
you
can't
go.
see myself.
All right. So, do you want to tell the listeners where Thomas is at this morning?
He's just unavailable,
This is
man.
cool stuff.
Yeah.
He's out. He's
Celebrating
He'll be
with his
back on
wife.
Friday.
Yeah.
He's taking some
traveling.
time with
He's-
his wife. It's
John's
good
doing.
for
some
I heard he saw
shopping
the
in
dead
middle of the
recently,
show.
so we just hope he makes it back and
Yeah.
safely.
Like this
And
I can't believe he's
He's
in my
enjoying
favorite
himself.
city without me.
well, we're gonna have to all guess on where he is then.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Place
glad
where
I didn't
John
say.
and Kristen got married.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I had a brother conceived there too.
Oh,
Really? Wow.
My
We're
brother
just
David was.
Did your
we're
conceived.
saying
parents tell you
without
that?
saying it. This is great.
Yeah, they mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Well,
did.
welcome to season 9, episode 6. We've got a lot to talk about. John and I have got a great, review of some court case stuff in the middle of this episode. There's so much going on,
In the world.
right? We're going to
Yeah.
talk about the Trump Jean Carroll case.
Yikes.
Going to the jury today, by the way.
I know.
We're going to have Dr. Foreit talk. Michael Foreit, formerly known as Dr. Foreit. By the way, you were the fight doctor. I saw you,
Yes, I was.
so that was good.
I want to tell you there was an action night, and I don't prefer when people get hurt.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. We had one of the Hammond firefighters, a pretty stud cat, got beat up pretty good.
Yep.
And, yeah. And
Yep,
he's
but-
doing well. And then there was another Lake County officer who had a bicep injury. But there were a couple people knocked senseless.
It's important to have you there.
Well, listen,
We
I don't know how much
appreciate
more
it.
I'm going to do. I don't like having to follow them and sit with them and to hope that everything's going to be okay. All
Yeah.
that business.
Do you have to
but-
bring in the smelling salts for some of them?
No, they were aware. They were awake. One cat had a broken rib.
Oh,
Broken rib, but a couple of concussions.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
boxing will do that.
Well, it's that tough guy thing. You know, you got these guys are out there doing everything, and they're not necessarily skilled. And sometimes you get hit in the back of the head. There were 2 fights that one Jimmy Freund had to throw in the towel on one, and
I saw
there
that.
was and there was another one that we stopped within 15 seconds.
It was over.
Oh, well, it was over. It shouldn't even started.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that.
Thank you. It was
Tell
for-
us about, all right, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to hear about San Francisco. You're going to tell us all about your trip because
Tripping.
we haven't seen you since you've been Skyping from
Tripping.
Hanoi. John and I are going to talk about these exciting court cases that we've got going on, and then we're going to finish with Is the Moon Real and a neighborhood in East Chicago.
Spoiler
Yeah,
alert,
well-
it's not real.
Is the moon? Is that the flat earthers are calling the moon not real now?
Oh
The
no,
same people?
there's been a discovery. We're going to get into that.
You're going to want to tune in.
You're going to want to stay tuned.
I'll be with you. It's like
tell us.
It's a way station. Yeah, listen, I was.
Tell
in
us about the
San
city by the
France.
bay. The city with the same size as Gary, Indiana.
They're under 800,000 now, and they have a serious problem. But I was in an area called the Tenderloin, which was a beautiful area, and my cousin has a gorgeous spot.
It sounds
who
naughty.
I stayed with. It's nutty.
Naughty. Like,
It's naughty.
Yeah.
But
nutty.
it is without a doubt saturated with unfortunates that live in the street. I don't know whether they started as addicts or just started as couldn't afford a home.
When we've talked about this issue, right? Mayor Tom, the locomotive, has spoken about his trip, and John, you talked about your trip. You guys were both there for the trip to San Diego, and what a difference it was in just 2 years from when he had been there last, and the just the proliferation of homeless folks, and we also talked about what to do about San Diego, and we talked about San Francisco. So now we're going to hear it from you because you've been to San Francisco.
I learned what the smell of burning fentanyl.
oh,
Wow.
Yeah, smelled like. It's openly used in the street. The poor officers, you have to sit and watch just so there's not much they can do. They sit in the groups of dozens, and they just hand butane cans next to one another, and they just light their foiled fentanyl.
So you're in the Tenderloin. When you say groups of dozens, is this like under an overpass?
No, sir. No,
around
sir.
around
It
a
is-
garbage can.
It is. They're sitting around the Capitol. They're sitting in the street. They're just lined up. Their tents. Their belongings.
Did you feel safe? Did you feel like you were going to get robbed or mugged or?
I was told by my cousin not to wander. Here I am at 6'3", and he said, "Michael, do not wander around the area." I didn't feel as if it was comfortable to go window shopping.
Really?
Oh, there were people everywhere, and they're walking around like zombies. Their eyes are closed, they're half hunched over, and they are just crossing the street and doing their thing. And you don't want to make eye contact with them, and it is an awful situation.
So, what's your thought on solutions?
Oh, solutions. So where do you start? I mean, you got people that couldn't afford to live somewhere. They have all their belongings with them, and if in order to get into a shelter, and they're offered shelter, there are people out there trying their best with labeled coats on that are active social service people, and volunteering people and all kinds of stuff. What do you do when you can't take your shopping cart worth of personal belongings with you into a shelter? And then there are people that complain once they get into the shelters that they're basically like little prisons, and they give them
There's
they give them
curfews
foil.
and drug testing and all that shit.
No. They provide them with some of the things they need to keep their addiction going without getting them the help that they need. They don't have the mental health help. They don't have.
What do you do if you're a business owner?
Well, that's what. Well, you shut down like Nordstrom's did. Yeah, they just this week too. Nordstrom shut down. One of the stores had some of the highest rate of police calls because people would walk out the front door and get knocked over and have their bags taken from them right away. So Nordstrom said, "The hell with that." There was a shooting at a Walgreens a week ago where a security guard was fearing for his life, and the assailant raised something, whether it was a pen or something, raised something, and the security guard shot him dead right in the street. And now Walgreens. They were protesting outside the Walgreens. Mm-hmm. There were people that will walk around and actively pepper spray some of these people on the street.
When I read something about a Whole Foods. Whole Foods shut down.
Whole Foods was 50 yards from my cousin, across the atrium of a beautiful structure. It was the biggest Whole Foods in all of California, and they were open less than a year. They had multiple overdoses in the John. One person died. Shoplifting. They will not prosecute under $1,000
in San Francisco City. They will not prosecute under $1,000.
They will not prosecute under $1,000.
Wow.
So you can walk out with whatever you like. You come in, and people will even act as if they're using the self-checkout, and they'll swipe some kind of a fake card, and out they go.
I want to do some more research into this under $1,000 thing, because I mean, if this isn't a test of that theory and what happens when you decide not to prosecute petty offenses. I mean, John, you're a defense lawyer. Mm-hmm. Where are you on this?
Well, I mean, you can't let anybody shoplift. You have to stop them all. Mm-hmm. Because if people find out that it's easy to shoplift there, then you have an invitation to some pretty serious and intense shoplifting crews coming in. They're called boosting crews. Bring in 8 people, everybody separates, and you got 8 people shoplifting all at once.
And if they all know they can get away with under $1,000, that's $8,000.
Right. Well,
Wow.
I mean, like the goal is the crews just don't limit it. They just, that you have 2 staff members or 1 staff member. You have 8 people come in and everybody leaves at once. What's
7
gonna
guys
happen?
get out.
Yeah.
And 1 guy gets caught.
He's
maybe.
referring to things like they have at the Louis Vuitton and things like that, or at some of the higher end stores. You're talking about people just walking in and out of places with just no
Groceries.
care what's everything.
Mm-hmm.
They'll grab a chunk of food, they'll grab a piece of meat, they'll grab order a piece of salmon, and out the door they go. There was one Asian market that raised all their prices by $1,000, and he was offering a rebate at the checkout counter.
Nice.
Just so you'd pay.
Yes. I don't know whether it worked or not.
That's genius. I like it.
I-
I think this podcast teaches us one lesson. If you're going to vacation, stay in the Midwest. Don't go to California.
That's right. Stay in Indiana.
I
Are you going back?
I'm going to go back. I have a cousin I love out there, and
Maybe
so-
get a hotel in a different neighborhood.
No, his building is safe and secure, and it's really truly beautiful, and it's on an atrium that is right next to the Capitol. He's right by the opera, right by the.
We were there on a family vacation. I want to say 4 years ago, and I got to tell you, there was no issues where we were. But this is 4 or 5 years ago. I think this is all.
Things are if you
Yeah,
you go to any big city and you want to find homeless people, you're going to find them. That's just fact.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find any tenderloins in the
the
tenderloin
Tenderloin?
district?
No, I didn't. I didn't eat for tenderloin.
Did
I
you
wasn't
look?
looking for the tenderloin.
He
I
only
had
eats
an
tenderloin
array of
in
food.
Indianapolis.
I had an array of food.
Any
but-
Chinese restaurants?
Yes, I did. I had a great Chinese meal, and I had a nice Italian meal, and we walked together as a group. And he himself carries a spray and some form of a little baton.
A weapon?
I hope
Yes.
the listeners
Do
can
that
see
again.
that. Yeah.
A baton with maybe a stabbing
Maybe
end.
use more of a striking motion than a
But
jerking motion. Doc.
But the people were zombies. I didn't feel as if they were coming after me with any type of a weapon. They were just eyes closed, walking, just wandering. You have to
Yeah.
avoid
How do you-
avoid fecal matter in the streets. Everywhere.
Truthfully.
And
Truthfully.
the municipal government's position on this is what? Oh well.
Well, a year ago the mayor was defunding the police by somebody.
Always a great idea.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
say that
but
sarcastically.
Now she is because the tax base is leaving the city.
Well, how could you not?
right.
And there are people that are actually voting to not pay their property taxes, big buildings. And so what are you going to do when you have no tax base in the city that's left? And it's in a terrible state.
Well, I mean, it's a serious problem, and if you think it, if you think it's not coming here, it probably is. But I think it's all about, and I know Mayor Tom's always said this: it's not going to happen in Hammond. We're not going to allow it. You got to get. I think you have to just get tough on it.
You have to play
You have to
defense.
get tough on it.
Yeah, I assure you that if people know that things are going to be difficult for them in an area, they will leave.
Bingo.
They
You
will
got it,
leave.
John. Right. Why would you? Right. It's the path of least resistance.
Sure.
Right. If I know I can sleep on the sidewalk here, and no one's going to hassle me, I'll sleep here.
Or they consolidate.
Indiana,
And that's what they did.
Indiana has a great law, and Hammond police enforce it amazingly well. Trust me, because I've defended maybe 5 people a year in 23 years doing this.
Loitering.
It's aggressive panhandling.
There
so
you go.
You cannot aggressively panhandle. If some lady leaves Walgreens, you can stand there with a sign that says anything you want it to say. But if you get in front of her, you block her car, and you get loud and aggressive, you go to jail. And so, you can't stop people, and and it's just about fear. So people can be
And not wanting to get hassled.
right.
Right. I mean, I think it's one of those things, right? This whole idea that you hear about officials saying we're going to defund the police and we're not going to enforce the law on petty crimes. It's becoming a disaster.
Yes.
I was talking to a friend of mine in Seattle. You know who it is,
Yes.
my buddy, and he said that for the first time in decades, they elected a conservative prosecutor, Republican prosecutor out there because they were all the Democratic prosecutors that were running were like, we're going to take it easy on crime.
Yeah.
You got. I mean, and I'm not sitting here saying Democrats are soft on crime, but you got to take a stance against things that end up ruining your city. How can you survive as a city if you're not going to enforce the law?
Well, why is it a Democratic thing now to say some
Some Democrats, I would say.
To say we're going to go easy on crime.
No
What is
idea.
that?
Where does that come from?
It's far left. It's far left.
It's far left.
leftist views.
But even the prosecutor himself is saying that we're not addressing the problems that cause them to be
Fair enough.
cause them to be outdoors. Okay, it's like, and I didn't see panhandling. Let me be clear about that. There was no panhandling. These people were doing whatever they had to do to get whatever 10 cents of fentanyl they had to get because it's the cheapest form of a high they can find. And I didn't see anybody stick their hand out. I don't know if they were just, and I didn't see their eyes.
So the way I feel about fentanyl, and fentanyl is here, but the defense and the defensive strategy that's going on in Lake County and the Northern District of Indiana is pretty intense because the police and the federal authorities, like the feds set up a task force here right away. Jennifer Chang is the head of that task force, and they are putting fentanyl dealers away. So
I know of some raids in Hammond recently.
Yeah, and so the state prosecutors and federal prosecutors are really punishing people.
And that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's why we're lucky to have, I think, in the Midwest, a pretty good law and order system still.
The weather's different.
True.
But I'll tell you, they know when the fentanyl dealers come through. They absolutely can tell because everybody then is all huddled up. Within moments of the fentanyl dealers rocking through, everybody's just all hunched up. They're passing around their propane torches,
That's
one
terrible.
to the next. And you see tents and you see people trying to do their best to. There was an art dealer that was watering his sidewalk. They ran him out of town.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, addiction, mental health, we know those are a lot of the root causes.
Root causes.
But, I mean, yes, we need to treat that. Yes, we need to address that. And at the same time, we need to make sure we're enforcing our laws. So, okay, we're going to do some ads. We're going to come back. I'm going to talk about speaking of local laws and enforcing them, this is like a Mayor Tom edict, and the exciting part is that we're going to court today on some of these cases. So why don't we start with ads? John, you want to lead us?
Sure.
Lead us in prayer.
Tortillas Nuevo Leon. Tortillas Nuevo Leon is the gold standard in Mexican cuisine throughout the Midwest. Look for Tortillas Nuevo Leon popular wet and white label at your local grocery store and enjoy quality Mexican products made with local expertise.
Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón. Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón.
There you are, back dancing.
By the way, is Fenty a sponsor?
Fenty or fentanyl?
Oh, that would be great.
Because we gave them
Both of them.
a lot of advertising.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
If you didn't see that, you'd probably miss this. But if you know who's really in charge in the studio, like I was asking Lindsay to, by pointing at her to read the next ad read, and she just pointed at me like, "Give me the ads."
Yeah, I was on the Lindsay,
and I
give it to
immediately
me.
got up and gave her the ads. We know who's in charge.
Okay.
Here. Yes.
The bug guy pest control. Well, this one's always like a tongue twister. Okay, here you go.
All right. Not as tough as Kuklakis Law.
Kuklakis law.
Thank God you.
Good thing that you fixed that before you finished.
yes.
Okay. Warmer temperatures mean unwanted guests such as ants, spiders, wasps, mosquitoes, and more. Shut down their party before they get started. A comprehensive pest plan from the Bug Guy will help you enjoy the great outdoors as well as the indoors all summer long. To solve your pest problem or to start a preventative plan, call the Bug Guy today and tell the pest he's on his way. Call Brian with a Y, like my husband, 219-810-7481. That is 219-810-7481.
She even got a shout out to her hubby.
That is the best. And
I do
now
like
I won't
him.
forget that, too. I know you love him. He's wonderful.
He's the best.
Yes.
Doctor.
He does
Cal
awesome.
Brewing?
Yes.
Oh,
that's all-
Cal, you
you're all
meant
about
brewing.
it.
Listen, I love the Kiernan family, and there they are. Whether you go on the golf course, which I haven't been, or spending a day in the sun, which didn't happen in California, Michelob Ultra is only 95 calories, 2.6 carbs, and 4.2% ABV. It's perfect beer for a summer day. You don't feel heavy with that stuff. Michelob Ultra brews a light lager that's worth every sip. So no matter what you're doing, kicking back after a long weekend, pickup game at the park, or fun days out at the fairways, enjoy this light beer, and don't just drink it. Enjoy it. Head over to Cal Brew on
your
Facebook.
life.
Find their golf bag. Find a golf bag post for your chance to win. A chance through May 12th. You can also head over to Michelob Ultra websites and social media pages for details of this great family of beers. Enjoy the Ultra lifestyle. with beers, cheers, and personality. Stay lean, stay healthy.
Stay lean. Drink Michelob Ultra.
Low carb.
That was very Christopher Walken-esque, don't you think?
Which I like walking.
Yeah, you have appropriate
He has that.
pauses.
He does have
Very
walking
appropriate pauses.
vibes.
And I did watch recently I watched the Vietnam film. Sad one, the Deer Hunter.
Anything about
Cantrell, what's your
Vietnam is
best
depressing.
do a walk-in impression, please?
No.
Come on,
No.
real quick.
Dude, like have Doc do it. He's got like the...
He's got it down.
The voice.
I like how he sits there when he's listening to, what's his name, tell him about the history of the Italians, and he just smiles. And then he
And
says,
what? Dear?
What's true love.
Okay.
Hey,
I haven't-
And then he puts a gun to his head and shoots him.
oh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Vesmar,
Yeah.
I just don't have a
Ruthless.
good one, and I don't want people to think that I'm not an artful mimic because I don't have a walk-in, but I'll work on it maybe for next time.
You
but-
can do the dance move that he does. He
Yes.
does that shuffle and
yeah.
he
We'll
does
work
that.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you can do that.
He
Powering
just does
America.
a little jig in movies.
Looking for a new career in 2023? Earn a competitive wage while you gain valuable hands-on experience as an electrician. Did we mention employer-paid benefits, including health insurance, pension, and an annuity? If so, visit JACT697. That's JACT697.org. Sponsored by Powering America.
We need
Empowered
more.
by
We
Powering America.
need more trades.
Need more electricians. Need more trades.
Need more trades.
You do.
It's a little mysterious to me, but I don't do my own electric, so I have to have somebody who's educated. Like
Safe not to do your own
Hey,
electric.
Christopher, go ahead, do the Byway Brewing one.
So we can start talking about the law.
In the voice of walking.
Yes.
Oh,
that. Byway Brewing
identical. I mean, just
is a family-friendly microbrewery with a spacious tap room and a patio outside. Their brewing equipment offers a unique backdrop. You can look at it, and you watch your private events like weddings, reunions, and corporate parties. I've been there for a number of parties. Byway is conveniently located just off of 8094 at Kennedy Avenue South Exit. Come on by and enjoy Byway's award-winning beers and unbeatable menu. For more information, check out bywaybrewing.beer with an exclamation point.
thank you to our sponsors.
Yeah.
what's
So
going
coming
on
out
in
of
the world?
John. So today, well, a little history here, right? We're going to talk about a little bit about guns and guns being fired and shot in the city of Hammond. So as you all know, Mayor Tom has talked on the show before about fighting the NRA and about how they came after him in the city
And beating the NRA.
and beating them. Yes.
Yay, Tom.
Tried to get him to repeal an ordinance. He basically said, go below. They sued and they lost. So,
And
yeah.
and tell them you were part of that litigation.
I was, yep,
and you
sure
won.
was.
Yeah,
We did.
Doc, sometimes you need Ivy League motherfuckers, and when you do, you call Kevin Smith.
Kevin's a man.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
yeah.
I asked an opinion of him the other day, and before he could answer, his wife answered, and I was
Yeah.
very appreciative of that.
That had to do with dating, though.
But I've
yeah.
acted upon it.
Yes.
I've acted upon
Kevin's
it.
a good kisser. We all know
better
that.
to take her advice than mine on that.
Listen, she's a professional psychotherapist.
She is.
She is.
Just not on me.
Got her
So,
hands full of
You're,
you, man.
so John's right, though. We took on the NRA. The mayor specifically did, and he won. And so fast forward a little bit. And we talked about this, too. There was a 13-year-old boy who was killed by a falling bullet on July 1st of 2017, Noah Inman. And that had to do with celebratory gunfire and people just recklessly shooting their guns, and the bullet came down and hit him. Now,
Stupid and careless.
absolutely, without a doubt.
Reckless, yeah.
The mayor, Linda Lawson, Noah Inman's family, went down to the State House, tried to get a law passed that said you shouldn't be able to shoot a gun within city limits without reason, without penalty, and never got a committee hearing. Representative Andrade also tried to do it a couple of years ago, never got a committee hearing. So the mayor and the city council enacted an ordinance that says if you shoot a gun without reason, in other words, you have every defense under Indiana federal law, at a gun range, everything like that. If you shoot it-
Self-defense,
That's
things
right.
like that.
All that is you have every right to do that. But if you shoot a gun recklessly or needlessly without reason, you're subject to a civil nuisance fine. And today, in Lake Superior Court, a bunch of those cases are coming to trial and going to be heard in front of the judge. And we're excited about that because this is the ordinance that the city council passed, that the mayor signed into law in Hammond. If you shoot a gun, I can give you a couple examples. Guy was mad at his wife, got in an argument, went outside in his yard and just shot his gun in the air 12 times. Now, no one was killed that we know of, But that's a reckless act. That's a nuisance. You create problems for your neighbors. You create police having to come out instead of going to do their job on somebody else. Do their job with someone else or some other complaint. They've got to deal with you being an idiot shooting your gun in the air.
Well, think about how many people in that neighborhood probably called 911.
Without a doubt.
There's probably 70 911 calls, and when somebody's in an accident or somebody's actually in danger at that time, they can't even get through.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or the police aren't near where you need them to be.
Yes.
Because they're responding to the shots fired call over here because some guy's mad at his wife.
And when it's 12 shots and they think it's some kind of shootout and things are going really insane.
Another one we had, a guy's in his backyard said he was having a bad day. So he took 3 different guns out and just started shooting them. Just shooting them. Yeah. And by the way, this is, if we're in the middle of, I guess if you're in the middle of a farm field, less risk, right? Less. But this is we live in the region. We live in northwest corner of Indiana. It is an urban area. It is residential.
Some say it's the Tenderloin of Indiana.
It's the Tenderloin district of the Midwest.
It's no Tenderloin.
And it's extra offensive if you add the fact that there's a gun range in the city. If you're having a bad day, take your butt over to the gun range or go to the driving range. I like to go shoot basketballs till I get tired and
go to the driving range. Get your driver out, hit some golf balls.
You can do other things than shoot guns, but also if you want to shoot guns to relieve stress, go to the gun range in Hammond.
There you go, Deb's Gun Range, right on Kennedy Avenue.
Used to be Foreman's.
There's also one in Griffith.
You're right.
Yeah.
There's one in Griffith. There's one in Crown Point. They're around.
They're
go
around.
Shoot your guns.
Yeah.
Do you have any other examples that you got going on today?
I mean, those are the two. I mean, there's several others that are more, probably more criminal in nature, like shooting into someone's house.
Okay.
Things like that. Not safe.
Spraying,
That's
yes,
a little,
sure.
Yeah. Things like that.
You guys don't have any of that triangulation, any of that sound triangulation that they use in the city?
They do in East Chicago, I believe. Shot Spotter, John? Is
Yes,
it?
Shot Spotter.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the problems with having Shot
John's
Spotter
hometown.
yes. There's a problem with Shot Spotter technology in Hammond because there's a police gun range and Deb's gun range. So
It'll pick it up.
it's going to pick it up all day.
Well, yeah.
isolate
I'll
those.
report back, but this is what's going on today. And I mean, I remember when this ordinance was passed, and kudos to your wife Kristen who helped me write it. We had Noah's family at the city council. They were very, I think, appreciative and also passionate about making sure this got passed. So they haven't given up the fight. Noah's memory still lives in the city of Hammond, and I think it's important to make sure we're proceeding on this. And the mayor was all behind this. He was like, "Go for it. This is great."
And you know what? I think it is great when people are having to pay for consequences because it is going to reduce the number of these incidents if people realize that there's all kinds of different consequences.
And it goes back to what we were saying at the last, segment, right? Where if people know, it's path of least resistance.
Sure.
If you know you're not going to get, punished or no one's going to hassle you, you're going to keep doing it.
And it's probably confusing to some people, even in Indiana, Lake County, and everybody else who's listening all over the world here. But if you shoot
Thank
near
you, Belgium.
Yes. If you shoot near someone, that's criminal recklessness. So it is a crime a lot of the times, but if there's nobody around as an identifiable victim, it often goes completely uncharged because there's no victim. But if you're shooting like in the direction of somebody, then there's a victim and it becomes a felony.
Yeah, and that's interesting, John, because we had some discussions with the prosecutor's office and the police department about the criminal recklessness statute, and I think what you just stated is exactly kind of the way that I think a narrow reading of the statute is. But I think you can read that statute broadly to say that shooting it in a home where there are people present.
Sure.
Or shooting it in a neighborhood where there's an urban, where there's very little space between houses. I think you could take that and try to prosecute it. I mean, I'd be interested to see how that would work in a prosecution if you could do that.
Well, if you could, let's say that you had somebody shooting a gun and you had no identifiable victims. You didn't know what their name was, and you had it on video, and there's somebody across the lake, and the guy's fishing, and he bought a new gun. He wants to shoot it. And you see people across the lake on video, and somebody's camera or somebody took a video. I mean, I think you could prosecute that
I
case.
agree with you.
You
I agree
got
with you.
evidence that there's people who could have been in danger.
You don't have to say that's John Cantrell in the boat.
Right.
Right. Okay.
I
agree.
But how about the fear of celebratory days? Like you can't go out on a 4th of July weekend. You can't. You have to stay indoors.
Think about that.
New Year's
I tell
too.
my
New
kids,
Year's too.
you're not going out. Don't come home at midnight. I tell them, don't come home anywhere near midnight. Wait. Either stay where you're at I mean, I'm talking about on like 4th of July.
Right.
Or New Year's Eve.
You have to act like your dog. You have to hunker down in a
Think
corner
about
of your
that.
house. It's
Think
just
about
terrible,
that.
yeah.
It's crazy. John, I know we talked about this a little before.
I'm starting to wonder if, like, guns don't work in a society like this. And by society like this, I mean degenerate society. I mean, no, think about it. What kind of moron goes outside? I'm having a bad day. Let me shoot a gun. Like you said, Cantrell, there's other ways to blow off steam.
But see, where a lot of the people and the legislators live, you can do that because they live in completely rural areas. Mm-hmm. I lived in Indianapolis, and I lived in Clarksville on the river down by Louisville. I went to college and law school there. And there it's different. Things are slower. People live further away. If you shoot off a gun, nobody lives within 7 acres of you. It's not a big deal. But when you live in an apartment complex and there's a swing set right there, things are different. And that's why laws probably should be different in rural areas and urban areas depending on population.
I'm not even sure if they should be different. Like, why? Basic gun safety, don't shoot a gun up in an air. Whether you're in a country or in the city.
They still come down. Bullets still come down.
It's crazy.
Well, I mean, in Indiana now we have you don't need a permit anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you want to be a responsible gun owner, you should know the rules, and that's something that you
God
just
forbid.
Agree, Linz.
To buy a gun, you have to take a gun safety course.
There you go, John.
God forbid. If you want to own a gun, you have to do it safely. Don't point it at people. Don't shoot it off for no reason.
And yet we feel like we're going the opposite direction. Like where you don't need a permit anymore.
Exactly.
You don't need you don't need it, and it just allows, like you said, John,
because it's privacy.
The degenerate part of society to go ahead and say they're the ones that end up harming others, right? I mean, go through what happened down in Texas. I mean, every week now.
But if you
every week we're seeing these mass shootings. Every week.
If you see the crime that's going on in Lake County, it's you have somebody who's armed in a gas station. Okay, and just pick a city here in Lake County, Indiana, and then somebody else gets into an argument with them. It's turning into the Wild West. This guy's got a gun on his hip. He makes a jerking motion, and this guy thinks that guy's going for his gun.
And then you have a shooting. It's because everybody. It's almost like if you don't have a gun, you're at a disadvantage.
100%. So you have the good folks going, I can't go out of my house without a gun. So now they get guns.
Right.
Thinking they're safer.
Yes. It's so interesting that people are looking at 2 to 12 for carrying a gun. They're felons, and they're violent felons in Indiana. So they're looking at a penalty range of 2 to 12 years for carrying a gun. And that person has to carry a gun to go home. He's not going to a bar to go have fun, but he carries a gun to go home. I feel bad that's how bad it is out there when people are making decisions where they know they're going to go to prison if they get caught
because for their own safety.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, something's got to give.
It's a little scary.
Something has to give.
I'll be in the Jewel and there's somebody with 2 sidearms on them that they're exposed. You know, and it's how do you take that? It makes me a little anxious to see that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't know. Used to it.
I don't. There has to be something because we can't go on as a society with mass shootings every week and not even mass. You know, like you don't have to go look in our own Northwest Indiana corridor or corner of the world. Yeah. There's shootings every week. People are getting killed every week because of shootings. Just here, let alone the mass shootings you see. I mean, right, John, that we were talking about the Dallas shooting this week.
Brutal, man.
Yeah, I mean,
children, man.
Absolutely,
one whole family except for one child.
I mean, it's terrible.
There's a lot of people who believe in gun control, but until everybody meets in somewhere in the middle, and then registers to vote and votes, these laws will never change. The NRA is too strong. The NRA spends too much money.
Legislators have to stand up to the NRA.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. So let's talk about a fun case. Well, I don't know if it's fun. Let's talk about. I guess Trump is always fun to me because it's just interesting to talk about him. So Trump is facing. Well, he's not because he didn't show up, and I want to talk to John about that. This E. Jean Carroll alleged rape civil case in New York City. Closings were yesterday. It goes to the jury today. Trump did not show up for the trial. I think by the way, for those that were wondering, like, how can a case that happened allegedly in the 90s show up in court 30 years later? It's because New York State passed a law saying there's no longer a statute of limitations on sexual assault cases.
Which is good.
And also, she wrote a book, and President Trump said it wasn't true when she told lies. So he
sued her for defamation.
Good point, Sean. There's a defamation point. You're right. You're right. There's a defamation portion of this.
Even if New York didn't have that law, this suit could be going on because he called me a liar, and she has to prove that he did in fact rape her.
There you go.
And he had said
That's a
that
good
she
point, John.
wasn't his type of girl.
That's right.
But the case is interesting because and don't get me wrong, I hope Donald burns hard in this lawsuit, but I think that he has a chance to win because Ms. Carroll had no idea what date,
no month,
year, or month. They have no. So I mean, like, if I'm a defense lawyer, like, how can I defend my client against something where I can't even say, you know what? Actually, when she said this happened, he was actually in Hong Kong. Because if she can't give you a date, it's really hard to defend.
Problematic.
So you block trauma, but you block out trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, you block some of the trauma.
Well, I'm sure that's the argument, but I mean,
there
are some holes in this case for her.
For sure.
You know, definitely. And I think the Trump lawyers have done a good job defending him.
He did say that that wasn't his type of girl, and yet when a picture was shown, he thought it was his wife.
He
thought it was
that photo?
That's my wife.
I'll look it up while you
So,
guys are
so
talking.
what happened was, in lieu of Donald coming in and testifying, he had to testify under oath and on videotape, and the lawyers got to question him. His lawyer and Jean Carroll's attorney had to question her. Jean Carroll's attorney is a woman's rights activist who's really coming at Donald. And
who is
Jean Carroll's attorney. She's a huge activist for women's rights, and she's coming at the Donald. And part of the testimony that I thought was just wild was the fact that this lawyer is questioning Donald and getting his testimony ready for trial, and he tells her how he's not attracted to her. This lawyer is not his type, and he would never be interested in her. He's 0% interested in her.
In the lawyer.
Yes.
He said he wasn't interested in her, in Jean Carroll's image.
Yes,
but
here's the
then
picture.
He was demonstrated a photo, and he thought it was his ex-wife.
Oh, John had the photo. Here it is. Okay,
he thought it was Marla.
If you can't see this photo, so this photo was shown to Donald Trump in a deposition. You can see Donald, the back of Donald's here, facing E. Jean Carroll's then husband, and E. Jean Carroll's on the left, and it's actually one of Donald's wives. I forget. I think that's Ivana.
It's Ivana.
Yeah, and
Who
then
fell down the stairs, yeah.
And he points to E. Jean Carroll and says, "That's my wife." Basically, I mean,
that's what he said.
Paraphrasing.
He thought it was Marla Maples.
Yeah, even though he said
Marla.
she's not his
and
type.
then his attorneys immediately stood up and tried to correct the situation.
I mean, it's crazy, crazy.
But Jean Carroll was Miss Indiana. Like she was beautiful.
Oh yeah, you see the photo there. Yeah, absolutely.
Let me play this for a second.
Oh, here it is.
And do you recall when you first saw this photo?
At some point during the process, I saw it. That's, I guess, her husband, John Johnson, who was an anchor for ABC. Nice guy, I thought. I mean, I don't know him, but I thought he was pretty good at what he did.
Nice guy.
I don't even know who the woman. Let's see. I don't know who. It's Marla.
You say Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla. Yeah, that's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to? No.
Here. Oh,
The person you just pointed to.
Oh my God! Wow!
Not interested in her.
Wow!
Yeah. And if that lawyer corrected him on the record, would you have like
objected?
Big
time.
Her?
We would have made a record of what she did.
Yeah, like she was coaching the witness.
Oh,
yes,
terrible. Mm-hmm. John, can you believe that?
No,
Vez.
I like Foreit was saying. It's just so Trump. Like he's not. I wouldn't rape her because she's not my type.
Right.
Doesn't exclude.
Think about that.
It doesn't exclude.
It's just such a Trump
rape.
thing.
It just excludes potentially
the
her
type.
Right, the type.
And so they did show the Billy Bush Access Hollywood video where he says that
the P word.
If you're a celebrity, you can just go up to a gal and kiss her on the lips and touch her nether regions.
Yes.
And you can do that. And they played that for the jury.
And he said, fortunately or unfortunately. It's for who it's fortunate.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, this is something that the Donald said. He said, this has been going on for
thousands
of years, either fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it.
Right. I mean, think about John. That goes to what John was saying about that, about like men. Right, they were talking about rape. I think, John. Right, wasn't that the context?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fortunately,
unfortunately, it's been going on for thousands of years. Again,
depending on which way you look at it.
Right. I think he said that. Depending on which way you look at it.
Oh.
So anyway, John, what do you think about? I mean, I thought it was interesting that Trump's lawyers and how they, in their closing, talked about the fact that he didn't testify. Because they were basically like, what question am I going to ask him? What am I supposed to ask him? He testified on the deposition. What am I supposed to say? Where were you 27, 28 years ago?
Right.
Were you at the... It's ridiculous. And I thought that was a really good way of going at why he's not here. They said that she has it's an unbelievable work of fiction. Why is there no date to an event as significant as this in someone's life? It's not a coincidence. With no date, no month, no year, you can't present an alibi. John, that goes to what you said.
Yeah, and the jury is 9 people. Like a civil jury in Indiana, 6, but in New York it's 9, and there's 6 men, 3 women. So I think that's interesting.
The other thing that they brought up was what they want you to, the attorney for Trump in his closing, what they want is for you to hate him enough to ignore the facts. I think that's a good way to argue that, right?
Sure.
Like we expect you to be so hateful of Donald Trump that you're going to give E. Jean Carroll money. Interesting theory, right?
Now they did closing arguments. What's your gut, Kevin? What's going to happen today? Because they're deliberating all day today, and I don't know if we're going to get a verdict today, but I'm guessing this jury's ready.
I guess I feel like you. Like I'd like to see Donald be penalized for this, but I don't. I think it's as a juror, from what I've heard, right? We're not there every day, and I always say this to people: like if you're not there, and you know this, John, in trials, if you're not there, it's a much different story than what you read in the paper. It's just because the newspaper can't give you every detail. I don't know. I think it's a tough civil case. I think.
What about you, Doc? What are you thinking?
I think he was in trouble before his election when he was associated with Epstein, Jeff Epstein. He had been charged.
Did they bring that up?
They didn't bring that up, but he was charged with Epstein for before he ever ran for president.
Well, he wasn't charged.
There was a New York State. I don't know what you guys call that stuff.
But the conspiracy charge against the Trump organization. That's what you're talking about.
No. He was charged with
Epstein.
Epstein. He was charged with. There was a charge. He was associated with Epstein for sure.
What about you, Vez Marquis? What do you think's going to happen?
Not guilty.
How about you, Linz? I knew you were going to say that.
He's got that tattoo that says that too.
I don't know.
Not guilty meaning not liable, right, John?
Correct.
No.
Yeah. And it's okay for you guys to say that too. Well, wait, hold on, Foreit. Are you talking about this case, the Carroll case?
Yes, we're talking about Carroll case.
The woman has no clue when this took place.
Yeah.
And you think he did this?
Or it can happen. People
no, I'm not saying it could.
People zone out to the traumatic events in their life.
Well,
it happens
and I
all
was
the time.
just about to say
No
that
police report.
I know a number of people who have suffered sexual assault in their lifetime, and I bet you if you asked, they say they couldn't give you an exact date either.
Right, they remember the moment, but
They
maybe they
remember
remember
what
what happened, but they
yeah.
just can't say what happened exactly here.
And
exactly
I don't
there.
think that's like a far-fetched thing that she doesn't remember. I mean, maybe general year, but
I agree.
Bergdorf Goodman dressing room in Bergdorf
she knew a
Goodman dressing
location.
room in the 90s.
She said what happened to her exactly what Donald Trump told Billy Bush that he does to women. You know, and this was in a dressing room, no witnesses, so he pushed it even further. Like, I totally believe that happened for sure.
Wow,
I believe it too.
Yeah.
Whether he gets found guilty or not, he's guilty of it.
But this is you're thinking about guilty and not guilty, proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
This is preponderance of the evidence, civil jury. I think it
pretty
happened.
tough.
I just don't know if they're going to find him
She
liable.
has to prove that she's 51% right. That's going to happen. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
And will the jury maybe like will they punish him for not showing up? Maybe not like I'm wondering like subconsciously will they?
I thought the closing argument was amazing because Jean Carroll's lawyer gave a closing argument and didn't ask for a dollar amount, which is crazy to me because I want to beg the jury for money. And she didn't ask for a dollar amount. She said it's not about the money. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work.
I do love that approach. Yeah.
All right, let's do. Where are we? What time is it, John? Is it time for more ads, or should we keep rolling?
It's 8:19.
Let's do some ads,
Yeah.
and we're going to come back and talk about Tiger Woods and this neighborhood in.
Are we gonna
So this
fit
can't.
all this stuff?
Yeah,
I
we
don't
got
know.
How about
Probably
the
not,
Cantrell?
Linz.
How about the Cantrell people?
The Cantrell and Cantrell ad. I'm donating that to Kevin Smith. Smith Sursick. You got Kevin Smith, Ivy League trained. You got Steve Sursick. He went to University of Chicago, Phi Beta Kappa, both lawyers, geniuses. you should hire them. Their phone number is 219-933-7600.
What kind of law do they do?
They do a lot of accident cases, personal injury. They do wills, trusts, and estates. They're amazing at all litigation and all in all forms of civil law. And Kevin does criminal law. He's really good at it.
Kevin doesn't look like it, but he's also kind of he's tough.
But
Thanks, Lynn.
I will say this.
Thank you, John.
And you could see it on their website. I left a review because this is the truth. We got 4 lawyers in my family. I do injury cases. My dad gets hurt. You're not supposed to represent family members. My dad went to Smith-Sursick. He broke his neck in an accident. They got him so much money. It's amazing.
Wow.
He deserved it.
He deserved it. He's an Army veteran, won the Bronze Star. They got him a bunch of
Indiana
money.
Basketball Hall of Fame. That's why Steve has
Kevin,
number 30 in his
Army
office.
veteran?
No, John's dad.
And so you should, if something happens to you, hire him.
Thank you,
I like
John.
how you did
I
that.
appreciate
I like how you
that. That was
donated
very
your time.
nice,
That was donated
John.
by
I like
Cantrell.
that.
Cantrell.
And you got Rogers
That
Roofing.
was nice of him.
Wow.
When you want the best for your home or family, and family trust the best in the business, Rogers Roofing. Rogers has transformed homes in Northwest Indiana and Chicagoland for over 54 years, providing quality roofing, siding, gutters, and windows, all backed by the best warranties in the industry. To learn more, to schedule your free consultation, visit Rogers Roofing at 219-933-9145 today. That's rogersroofing.com. 219-933-9145. And remember, at Rogers Roofing, excellence is expected. And back to the shootings in the air. My office in Gary had multiple bullet holes in it.
Wow.
That when we would walk the roof, we would see what could be nothing other than bullet holes
Yep, it
that
happens.
had come through the roof.
They have to come down somewhere.
They had to come down somewhere.
You know, you've got choices when you pick a lawyer, and I don't want to, I mean, as much as I love our firm and I love John, you've got choices. You can go anywhere you want. And one of those folks is ckers Law. Are you facing legal challenges and you don't know where to turn? Look no further than ckers Law, your trusted source for legal advice in Indiana and Illinois. Do you need representation buying or selling real estate? Call ckers Law. Do you need help forming your business? Call ckers Law. Did you get injured in a car crash or at your job? Call ckers Law. No matter what your legal issue is, call ckers Law at 219-671-6347 for a free consultation. Hablamos Español. That was
Calimera,
Spanish.
baby.
There you go.
Yeah.
Miss Print specializes in delivering the highest quality signs and printing on time and under budget. Miss Print's experience in technology allows them to offer custom commercial on-demand printing and sign solutions. Rick Baltenberger and his team have served Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana for over 30 years. They have 2 convenient locations to serve you in Munster and Hammond, both on Calumet Avenue.
Thank you to our sponsors, all of them.
There's one more.
Oh, there is one
There's
more.
the Ron Prestimer Agency.
Go.
Okay, and so the agency's been located for decades right on Indianapolis Boulevard on the east side of the street, serving all of your insurance needs. They specialize in a wide variety of insurance products and services, including auto, home, business, life, and much more. Prestimer Agency serves over 1,000 people and businesses in all of Chicagoland and the Midwest. You can call Ronnie, Ron Sr., or Michael at 219-844-0103. Prestimer Law.
Thank you to all our
Prestimer
sponsors.
Insurance.
Prestimer Insurance Agency on the
Prestimer
best end of the
Insurance.
boulevard.
Yes.
Because we promised, we're going to let Lindsay and John talk about why the moon is fake. Or is it
Hell
fake?
yeah.
Here we go.
The
Lindsay's
moon
perked
is a
up. She's up.
satellite. I'm awake.
John?
I'm
So
awake.
I don't know if everyone heard this yet, but scientists have discovered a massive metal structure under the surface of the moon.
Okay.
How big is massive?
I will tell you. The article talks about it. It's massive. Okay, here it is.
It's like the majority of the surface.
186 miles deep and 1,243 miles long.
It weighs 2.18 billion kilograms.
Whoa.
Do you want, Vesmar, do you want to tell them about the
4
structure
billion.
that was found in Uranus?
Yeah.
Well,
I hope it had a flare base.
Clearly,
solar system jokes are always the best when you throw in Uranus.
Oh, yeah.
but clearly this can only mean one thing.
The moon is made of metal.
The moon is a structure, man-made or
Not
alien-made
man-made, yes.
structure, and it's just fake.
It's just
It's a
floating up there.
satellite.
And the Earth is flat. We can only arrive at
course.
2 conclusions.
But
And umami or whatever that thing is.
Umami.
Oh no! What was that asteroid?
your mama? No, but
Also,
but
you can't beat a your mama joke.
That's true. Now listen to this. You've seen, the supposed astronauts walking on the moon, right?
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
mean, like, why does it look better when you're in Star Wars: A New Hope in 1977? That looks better than that footage. Like, I just don't believe that that's real.
We didn't
Because
go to
they
the moon.
used
Interesting.
miniatures.
For sure.
We did not go to the moon.
We went
and
to
I'm
the
not
moon.
even kidding.
Yes,
no,
we went to the
did
moon.
not.
No, we
Oh,
did not.
stop,
No, we did
stop.
not. We did not.
Kevin.
Go to the moon.
Wow.
Come on.
Did
Neil-
not go
yeah.
to the moon.
Neil
Yes.
Armstrong walked on the moon. You're saying he was like in his Hollywood
Yeah, that's a set.
studio?
It's a studio.
He has a lot
Yes.
to say about that since then, Kevin.
I mean, how
Yeah.
come we haven't gone back since?
We're going in 2 years.
Kevin, come on, dude.
Come on, man. You
I
have to.
think
You have
we
to.
went,
You have to have
but
a
there's
little.
There's a lot of
have
there's
to have-
doubt there.
We went to the
So
moon.
it's just not a mineral gathering. It's they said there's an actual
Well,
structure.
so like
Well,
maybe
they're saying
the
it's-
core of the moon is metal.
Yeah, but think about this: the United
it's a
States and
like
the
a marble.
Russians in the Cold War are trying to race to the moon. We totally
won.
faked it. We won. We faked it.
We won the moon race.
Like
Space race.
you have to have a little bit of doubt, Doc. Do you have a little bit of doubt?
No.
I have zero doubt.
Is it you were there?
no,
No,
was
I
not
have. No,
there.
you just asked if I had doubt. I was alive.
But you have. But I mean,
I
you-
celebrated
like,
it. I had a little Snoopy coin when they landed on the
See?
moon. Yeah.
Aw.
There's,
Snoopy coin.
well,
Still have
here's
it,
what
Dr. Mike?
here's what they say about the moon. This
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
in the moon, by the way.
Okay.
They said that the theory seems to suggest that an asteroid which struck the crater embedded itself into the moon.
Whoa.
Oh well, and
Potential.
asteroids are made of metal, so that did make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
imagine
I've seen
taking,
Armageddon.
Yeah.
imagine taking a pile of metal 5 times larger than the big island of Hawaii and burying it underground 186 miles deep.
And so,
Oh.
what do they drill to this thing and find that it's got some kind of
No, it's like an X-ray.
an X-ray?
No, and
Yeah,
actually, it
well,
was,
and metal is cold, so if you do like a thermo scan, like you would be able to see like cold under the surface.
That's real.
You guys think this is just look at how
Okay.
ridiculous this picture looks.
I do have something to say about the moon landing.
I
Is
think
that
that's real.
there was a MythBusters episode where they were trying to prove it, and they left reflectors on the moon, and if you get the right coordinates, they
You
can
can
shoot
see
a
'em.
laser and they shoot back.
There you go, John.
as very like that's verification that
this?
people were on the moon.
John, I'm not
Made it down
Here
to the moon.
Well, and back,
to
by
the
the way. To me, the most amazing thing about this is that made it back. Like, I was thinking, could you imagine, like, you make it to the moon, and then you have to get back in that, hope it fires up and get back to the Earth?
you could
Well,
make
they
a
in the
knew
better.
what they were
60s?
taking
You
on.
could make a better set in the production at Morton High School than
yeah.
Which is why this is real.
That's right.
Because
How much else did the government bamboozle you guys on back
Yes.
then?
I've
Honestly,
I've seen
what
the
other
outfits and the stuff at the Museum of Science and
Me too.
Industry.
and in D.C. at the Smithsonian.
Oh, yeah.
And it looked like the robot from Lost in Space, right?
They did it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I'm not
was
even
great.
sure space is real. I mean, you could take this conversation anywhere.
Danger, Will
Well, then
Robbins.
what's
Yes.
outside the atmosphere?
Exactly. What's outside the atmosphere?
I
Some
bought
guy
it.
in a computer controlling this whole simulation.
Oh no! Now we're
Who's
getting
that
into
guy?
brain in a vat.
Who's the guy?
We don't.
It's God, bro.
Yeah, bro. That's
Look
I
at that
agree.
background.
Yeah.
Look at the stars back there on that mountain.
I think it's Ben Affleck.
Stupidest.
He's going to get the asteroid. He's
A
getting
whole
the asteroid.
world of people could fall for this.
John, it happened.
They fell for Trump.
Good
Oh.
point.
One of
Right.
the greatest presidents we ever had. But
Okay,
anyway.
it's
we never had.
8:27.
Yeah,
All right, fine.
Rapist.
So before we stop, I want John has got this great. So if you're not from
Okay.
Northwest Indiana,
We'll talk about Tiger Woods.
you
later.
might have never heard of this neighborhood in East Chicago, John's city of birth and where he grew up. But this is a great story.
Okay, so on Cinco de Mayo, we did a little pub crawl. We're going around to a few different spots, and we ended up at a restaurant, and people were drinking. We went to about 5 different places in Hammond, and then we went to this place. You know, the city of Hammond had a cool event at the Civic Center. So it was my wife and I, and Phil and Kelly Talon.
By the way, best wishes to Kelly. She had her appendix out yesterday.
Did it burst?
It did not burst, but
Thank
it was
God.
pretty scary.
But it was getting big?
and that's why Phil wasn't here today.
Yes.
Dang.
Yes, so get well, Kelly.
Yeah, get well, Kelly. We wish you the best.
We wish you the best. And appendix does have a function, you guys.
What is
it?
It is a reservoir for our own bacteria that keeps it.
Well,
so
it
that-
keeps
what
it
happens
from
if you don't
going
have
into
one?
your guts. Yeah.
well, it allows it's like a probiotic little reservoir.
All right, so if you don't have it, what happens?
Well,
Nothing. You
nothing
just
happens,
have to take
but when it gets
probiotics,
plugged up
maybe.
with caca, and then it gets it's swollen,
And
it starts to
infected.
swell, and it becomes this little infected sac that bursts.
So that's what
sounds-
happened to
And
But
Kelly.
then
they
you
didn't
can-
think
you're
it
at
had
risk for
function. It has function.
sepsis.
That sounds shitty.
Thank you.
So we met some people, and some like these are like very prestigious human beings, and you know there was a group of people we saw at a restaurant, and they were all in really fancy, nice clothes. They went to a function at Wicker Park. It was a Cinco de Mayo festival. And then, we were just drinking for about 7 hours, and everybody, like Phil was in Daisy Dukes, and there's a lot of tequila drank. And
Phil was in Daisy Dukes.
You had a driver.
Yeah, that was me.
That's a typical
I was a driver.
Thursday lens.
Yeah, I'm the DD because I don't drink.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking, and everybody's talking about. So it's us and Daisy Dukes and these nice,
fancy
classy
people.
Yeah, yeah, they're real fancy people. So everybody's talking about where they're from, and people are getting to know each other. And one of the young ladies who was there said that she had went to school in East Chicago. So I said, "Where did you go?" And she's like, "I went to Holy Trinity." And somebody else in the group said, "Where's that?" And she said, "That's in Honk." And she stopped. And I said, "Uh-oh, I know what just happened." Because Holy Trinity is in the section of East Chicago called Honky Town. Mm-hmm. And so
which exists, by the way, on MapQuest.
Yeah, Honky Town. And so there's a lot of rumors about like where the name came from, but it's where the white people lived in East Chicago. I didn't live there. I lived on the other side of town. But
wait, that is indeed why it was named Honky Town.
Oh well,
I mean, there's a lot of like folklore where people try to steer it away from why it's called that.
Steered away from the racial aspect of the name.
So it spurred this huge conversation with this group of people. They're like, "Is it really called that?" And I had a police officer friend. His first day at work, we grew up together. He starts working on ECPD, and he's chasing a guy, and he's on the radio asking for backup, and he's like, "Hey, I just crossed Kennedy Avenue. He just ran into Honky Town. I'm chasing after him." So he gets called in after work, and they're like, "Hey, you can't say Honky Town on the police radio. Like, you can't do that."
But it's like part of the vernacular. It's part of the...
And he asked a really good question. He said, "What do you call it?" But no one else knows what you call it because that's what it is. You
can't say like Parrish Avenue in Chicago or anything like that?
If you know where the Carmelite home is in East Chicago and where Riley Park is, that's Honky Town. So if you're on Euclid and you're leaving the harbor heading south, you pass Chicago Avenue, you enter Honky Town. Riley Park is basically sits on the corner of Kennedy Avenue and Chicago.
I just love the fact that she said, "Huh."
Yeah, she caught herself. She's politically correct, and I'll give her kudos. But I said, "No, you can say it.
Say it,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
that's where you're from. I know where you're at.
Yeah, and
I love it.
It's nice that people are now finally changing the name of Honky Town. Like life comes full circle.
All right, season 9, episode 6 is a wrap. John and I got to get to court.
Good luck, you guys.
Yes,
thank you, gentlemen.
Dr. Mike's retired. He's going to have a nice, relaxing day, I'm sure.
It's not like that.
Lindsay's got to get some sleep.
Who sent them?
And John's got to get to work.
Who made it a MapQuest article? I didn't even know MapQuest exists or
Still
MapQuest
exists.
link.
That'd be John Cantrell.
I didn't make the link.
Do you use MapQuest?
No, I Googled Honky Town, and that's what came up.
Yes. Maybe this is why MapQuest isn't used anymore, John.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Well, great job, Vez. Thank you for
guys.
putting up with us. This is season 9, episode 6 of LockPod. The Locomotive will be back on Friday. By the way, we've got some unbelievable guests coming up, but I'll let the Locomotive talk about that. We'll see everybody Friday. Have a good one.
Thank you.